For me, being an archaeologist, it's sort of like working backwards. I had been at other sites, and you find fragments of architecture and frescoes and moldings from things, and you don't know where they come from. And when you get to Pompeii, everything is in place, and you see the prototypes, and you see the entirety.
Pompeii is a unique site in the ancient world. It's the one occasion where we have enough of the physical fabric of the city left to actually approximate to what an ancient city was like. So this is the one place where we can come and see food remains, we can see dining room remains, we can actually envisage people living in here, which you can't do anywhere else in the ancient world.
This is the most popular archaeological site in the entire world, and we are most respectful of the site. Our process is to carefully analyze and then to describe. But if we're successful, we will get a database where you can call up every structure in the city, and you can see every room that is connected with food and drink. The city of Pompeii was in existence from the 6th century BCE to its destruction in 79 CE. Etruscans, Greeks, and Samnites held power at various times until the Romans took over the city in 80 BCE. The city borders the Bay of Naples, next to the Sarno River, and beneath Mount Vesuvius. 12 to 15,000 people probably lived here. About 1,200 structures have been excavated within the walls. The Pompeii Food and Drink Project analyzes and documents all structures for evidence of food and drink. We look for structures or spaces where people grew, prepared, processed, stored, sold, transported, ate, and drank food and drink. We use 7 categories describing specific structural usage that help us order the evidence. I studied at the University of Maryland, College Park, with Giovanna Jaschemski. She's known as the garden lady of the Roman Empire. She began the process of looking for spaces where there might be gardens, and she found them practically everywhere. And she taught her students, and I was one of them, to love Pompeii and to be interested in how it functioned and how it looks and how it is conserved.
Wilhelmina Jaschemski did something called the Natural History of Pompeii. She is most famous for having created root casts of garden plants, where Fiorelli in the 1800s created the big body casts. She took that idea, and as she would be excavating, she would find holes in the ground, and she would pour plaster in, and based on the style of the roots that she's getting, she would be able to identify what plants were planted there.
She said, go study the bakeries of Pompeii. So I'm known as the bakery lady. There is this commercial bakery on every corner virtually in Pompeii. And the bakeries have mills for grinding the wheat to flour, space for animals to grind in a circle, commercial rooms with counters to sell bread, domestic rooms for the baker and family, and great ovens that have become popular around the world. I found evidence of 35 bakeries in this town. Now, I've been in this oven. It's probably too dirty to go in, but do come look at it. And then, because of my interest in bread and food, I decided let's make a database for all the food and drink in Pompeii. Oh my. And we're in our 15th year. We're close to getting through all of the city, but in practically every structure there is some evidence associated with food and drink.
Earthwatch was a nonprofit out of Boston, Massachusetts, and Dr. Betty Jo Mayeske, Dr. Lindley Van, and Dr. Bob Curtis put together this project, this research project, with Betty Jo as the lead investigator, and they put their proposal in Earthwatch.
Earthwatch was interested in it, and they helped us. And for 3 years, I benefited from learning how Earthwatch uses monies to allow you to do this program.
It's like a modern town where you might have a wealthy neighborhood, but interspersed are little houses. We have that here. We have wonderful villas practically, and even inside the city. And next door is just a little tiny shop, or someone's living in the upstairs of a one-room shop, or renting an apartment in a building that's been divided into small spaces.
The largest of the in-town villas is the House of the Fawn. It is a one-block house with 4 dining rooms, large peristyle courtyards where you walk around drinking and eating, huge kitchens, and one of the finest mosaics in the Roman world. Outside the entrance, the Latin greeting suggests a Roman soldier was awarded this residence after the Romans conquered the city.
That one is a dining room, and room 21 and 24 were dining rooms. Can you, if you carry Eschenbach, I'll carry Jaschimski for right now.
The ceiling was, there was something across there. Was that are those ceiling posts for a second story?
It does have an arch. You see the holes? Is that what you're looking at now?
Yeah. Not these little ones. Big ones on this side that would have been beams.
19, 21, 24.
No, we've definitely shifted over the years as we go. We have different PRs. Ben and Betty Jo are the 2 PRs who have been here since the very beginning. Lisa and I came in later on. I actually started out as a team member, volunteer.
Betty Jo really invited me for one particular reason, and that was because I'm published in ancient beer and brewing. And so Betty Jo knew of that and invited me more based on that than all the years of excavation on Roman sites and publications in other areas, but that's what she was excited about. If you want to say it's a dining room, that's fine.
Dining to Blyden is fine. Every bit of literature I've ever read on House of the Fawn calls it a second Blyden.
I beg to differ with you because everyone calls this an cathedral. This is spectacular. This is a reception. This is where all the philosophy gets discussed, but food is certainly served here too. We have good people that will keep coming back 3 weeks out of their year. And then we have volunteers, team members. So it's the combination of the core researchers and then team members from around the world. Now we have a lot of people from New Zealand, from Iceland, from Australia, and from England and Canada. So we really are kind of a motley group now, which is a lot of fun.
Now, we just finished doing a sketch of a dining room, and then we were talking about some of the reading the walls and wall construction and wall typologies.
So we're describing the remains and why we have determined that it is a dining room. And we can look at the things like the remains of the fancy floor, which had mosaic, the large windows, which gave a beautiful view out to the peristyle courtyard. So I'm dictating the description, and Amanda is taking down the notes, and that goes into the database as the full description of the room itself.
The primary goal of the project is to complete a database that shows and identifies any instances of food and drink that occur on a regular basis within the ancient city and its environs. So we have everything from food accession, where you're growing food, you're bringing it, importing food, you're raising animals, that kind of thing, to the various stages in the food preparation and the food consumption, and finally the dispersal of anything that comes after that.
We are a non-invasive analysis of everything in the city. And by non-invasive is we are permitted to look at everything in situ. And we do, and we then analyze, usually with 3 PhDs working together and attempting to agree with one another as to what this is. Is it a domestic structure? What rooms are in this domestic structure? What spaces are in this structure? And then what features? So we work with domestic, commercial, public, religion, and structures outside the walls, cemeteries, temples, and material objects and writing. A structure that shows both domestic and commercial late usage is the Villa of the Mysteries outside the city gate. The domestic areas contain a large atrium, clusters of bedrooms and dining rooms, and one very special dining room. Here, a fresco shows life-size figures who are taking part in a mystery rite honoring the god Dionysus Bacchus. The commercial part of the villa contains slave quarters, an area for wine production with a gigantic reconstructed wine press, and a huge kitchen with a large oven.
So this would be a processing room, would be our space. Right?
Processing room would be, both of these would be processing rooms.
Well, the reconstruction was done from a cast of the original, right?
So is it a negative report?
No, it's just a report. But what you just raised is probably...
No, it's all
So
wood.
that is identical to this. The only thing you don't have is this middle area available to see. So our last number on here
This is
was-
really commercial. The size of this is indicative of a commercial establishment. It's not just somebody making their own wine for their own household.
It's a total amount of an elegant house or big villa. And the other part, equally large, is a commercial winery. And so it has two characteristics.
But I'm looking at the arch. What is that opening?
I think it's just the second entrance. I think it would continue
It's the
on
major
outside.
entrance.
That's why I think it's commercial rather than residential. I think this was where
It's
the
both, it's
people
both.
came to buy.
You know, we need to do like shop house kind of thing that we have, you know, where.
We recognize the twofold nature, and it really is so different from our first analysis.
It's right on the northern lip of the Dolian.
Yep, is a potter's stamp. Quite often they're in reverse. They can either be right to left or they can be reversed.
What's still underground isn't going to be heard anymore, but all these things above ground can be very much. So we have a conservation mission to document, to record.
6896, that's a cistern.
In the morning, we're all in the field, and we're compiling what we're going to put in the database in the afternoon.
The project itself was conceived as a project to create a database. And so it really is the central part of everything that we're doing here.
Number 6901, review file is 690.
One read, one give, one type,
Turn to the next
this
one.
list populated these.
These folks are working either with the floor plans or with the drawings, getting them ready to go into the database. On the other computer, we're working with floor plans for the houses. So we are putting in door numbers, room numbers, feature numbers. Each of those has a specific code that we use with it. And we've been doing it for every single feature. All the sites that we visited, we've done in this fashion.
Pompeii is the victim of archaeology. When excavations began in the mid-18th century, all they were interested in was finding statues. So anything else like this, no interest. And so what we're trying to do is to piece together what was actually here, to recreate what the daily life of Pompeians was actually like. And it's the first time anybody's attempted to do it across the entirety of the ancient town. So for me, the database is a means to an end.
My hope with the database is that we will complete it and actually be able to access enough of the spaces in the city to make a viable product that will really be academically sound.
I share the hope for the project that Betty Jo has, which is that it will be as groundbreaking and exciting and impactful to classics and Roman antiquity in the same way that Wilhelmina Jastrzębski's work did with her work with Roman gardens.
Everyone has to eat, and everyone has to drink. So it's a necessary component. Anyone that wants to have an in-depth look at Pompeii, particularly with food and drink, will be able to see most of the evidence that we've collected through these 15 years.
Here we have such a diverse audience that we cover so much and in ways that become accessible to so many people. And for me, that's really an exciting part of doing this. It's not just knowing it for myself, it's being able to articulate these things and share them with other people. So that experience is really valuable. And I think, judging by the fact that some of the volunteers are back for their 13th year, I would say it's a success.
Made so many friends in so many different countries all over the world, and it's just been a super experience in that respect. It's really been an important project in what it's done for the lives of the people who come to it and how much a part of their lives it becomes. Betty Jo has put together something that's really special and really changed a lot of lives through it.